Don't be fooled for a second that this whole thing can't erupt into chaos at any point in time. There's so many things happening that it's hard to keep up on, but I figured I'd give you a quick update so that everybody's just aware as to how catastrophic this whole thing can become very quickly. I'm out here doing some yard work today, so excuse my yard work look, but this is just what we have to do. We have to keep preparing, getting things done, and moving forward, even though all these existential threats still exist. So we have Russia basically targeting Kiev with new missile strikes and saying that they will target additional targets if weapons, and especially long-range missiles, are being delivered in that region. And of course, as soon as they said that, now these new missile strikes happen in Kiev, where they are actually targeting foreign tanks that were sent to that region in order to support that effort there. So you have to understand that foreign equipment is being specifically targeted now, just like the Kremlin said, okay? Russia is also saying that World War III has started, and in fact, this whole conflict that they have going on right now is just a dress rehearsal to see how their equipment works against NATO equipment. That's just what they're saying, and it makes a lot of sense. A lot of people have speculated that for quite a while now, and that's exactly what's going on, okay? Now, the news will claim that there is no fix, no quick fix for this international food crisis that is the product of the conflict over there. And yet, even though that's what the news is saying, there's no quick fix to this, and this international food crisis is huge, and the shortages are going to hit us very hard. The USDA says that there is no nationwide food shortage to report of as of right now. But not to worry, they have plenty of resources that are ready to go to bat for you in case things ever get dire. But as of right now, there really is no shortage and there is no food crisis, right? So you have to understand that there's a lot of back and forth here where they keep saying everything's fine, but then the next day they'll tell you it's actually not. So keep in mind that more than likely what we're leaning towards here is the negative rather than the positive, as panic doesn't help anything, so they're trying to avoid it, okay? Now, 44% of Americans believe that we are on trajectory towards another civil conflict here within our country. Keep that in mind when we're talking about these foreign escalations that are occurring all over the planet. We also have the risk of our own conflict here within the United States against ourselves. And that's what a lot of people believe may eventually occur, which is probably more dangerous than anything else that we're talking about in the sense of what's happening in foreign environments. But here we are. This is exactly why this whole thing can erupt so quickly and why chaos can eventually take over from the norm based on the fact that so many cards are in play right now, okay? North Korea just launched 8 ballistic missiles into the sea off of their east coast, and of course that's going to cause alarm for countries like Japan. And these ballistic missiles that they're launching, this is the 17th time that they've done it this year. This is escalation, this is saber rattling, but this is also a reminder of how quickly one little mistake could turn into something much bigger. And when you have these rogue nations that are willing to do these things that they know are escalatory, they're not going to help anything, they're only going to make it worse. Now, Chinese military just conducted night raid bombing drills right outside of Taiwan. We all know what the leaked audio from China recently said about their plans to take over that nation at some point in time here, and we know that if that occurs, it drags the U.S. into yet another conflict zone that's in a different region, which will then stretch resources even further. You see how this is all kind of coming apart at the hems right now? Everything is falling apart, okay? And whether or not you're talking about hems or seams or whatever you do when you're a seamstress, and I'm clearly not, either way, this whole thing is tearing at the edges of the fabric, and we're having a very difficult time wrapping our heads around each individual threat that exists. So we have to have these updates and these reminders to make sure we stay on top of what's really going on. We even have reports that Iranian scientists and senior military advisors are mysteriously dying, right? And we all know that Israel is involved, and we know that those two nations have their own conflict, which could easily escalate into something involving the United States as well as other countries. You see how many things are in play. Do you see how many different options there are when it comes to moving this whole thing forward into a very chaotic environment? There is no peacetime right now. Things are very, very difficult and vitriolic, let's just say. And we know that especially with Americans feeling like the idea of civil conflict is actually becoming more and more of a reality, that should definitely concern you, probably more than almost any of these other foreign situations, because the likelihood of those affecting us here within our borders is much lower than the likelihood of a civil conflict affecting us here within our borders. I think you all know where this is going, keep preparing. Like I said, I'm doing yard work today because you know what? It has to be done. I can't just sit inside and not touch anything out here in the middle of this property that I own in order to, just avoid any of the issues that might occur, the risks that might occur when it comes to basic everyday living and quality of life. I mean, we have to still get out and do the things. We can't just hide from everything that's occurring right now, and we can't just stop doing things that we have to get done to only focus on preparedness and prepping and everything else related to that. But either way, you still have to have this level of urgency and the threat level properly assessed in your mind so that you can react to it properly when these things go down. Just wanted to give you all a reminder. Hopefully you're having a good day. I know I am, but these are the things that we have to consider and think about in order to deal with them properly when that time comes.